hard. It's like co-parenting. It's really hard.
Kids were kids, man. If ain't nobody reach out to them, ain't nobody call them, you know what I'm saying? Nobody.
Putting her child on a platform for a lot of opinions. It's something to really, really, really think about.
Doing everything I wanted, that's the key to life. When you see me shining, then you see the light.
He's doing this to himself.
But it affects my kids.
Of course it does.
Bro, I want to just see my kids. I understand, bro, but it's not just me. It's a...
Kim Kardashian just made a move that could change everything for Kanye West, and he never saw it coming. For years, their battle over their children played out behind closed doors, with temporary truces and quiet conflicts that never quite boiled over into full-scale war. But now, Kim is preparing for a legal showdown that could strip Kanye of all legal custody over their kids. If she succeeds, Kanye will lose his right to make any major decisions in their children's lives. This wasn't a decision Kim made lightly. She had spent years trying to keep things civil, attempting to co-parent with Kanye despite his increasingly erratic behavior. But after a series of shocking public outbursts, ignored legal agreements, and reckless choices involving their children, she's finally reached her breaking point. The tipping point? A move so bold that even Kanye's most loyal fans were left stunned. It wasn't just one event, but a series of escalating missteps by Kanye, actions that completely disregarded their legal agreement and put Kim in an impossible position. To fully understand how things spiraled to this point, we have to go back to where it all started, with a custody agreement that was meant to keep the peace, but ended up setting the stage for disaster. Back in November 2022, when Kim and Kanye finalized their divorce, they agreed on a joint legal custody arrangement for their 4 children, North, Saint, Chicago, and Psalm. On paper, this meant both parents were supposed to have equal say in decisions like schooling, medical care, and public appearances. But anyone who had followed Kanye's increasingly unpredictable behavior knew that joint custody was never going to be simple. To try and prevent constant legal battles, they included a mediation clause in their divorce settlement. This clause stated that if they ever had a dispute over parenting decisions, they would first have to attempt to settle it through private mediation before either of them could take the issue to court. At the time, it seemed like a reasonable solution. Kim wanted to ensure that their children had structure and stability, while Kanye still had a voice in how they were raised. For a while, it appeared to be working. Although Kanye's relationship with his children was inconsistent, he still showed up for big moments. There were tense moments behind the scenes, but publicly, both Kim and Kanye kept things mostly civil. But things began to unravel as Kanye became more reckless and unpredictable. While Kim remained the primary caregiver, responsible for everything from school drop-offs to doctor's appointments, Kanye's involvement was sporadic at best. One week, he would be actively present, showing up at their school events and taking the kids on outings. The next, he would disappear for weeks, prioritizing his businesses, music career, and online feuds over his responsibilities as a father. For Kim, this wasn't just frustrating. It was a warning sign. She worried that Kanye's increasingly erratic behavior wasn't just affecting his career, but could start impacting their children's well-being as well. But even after all the absences and controversies, Kim still held back from taking legal action. She was willing to tolerate a level of chaos for the sake of keeping the peace. That is, until Kanye made a move that crossed the line completely. Kim had set clear boundaries when it came to their children's public exposure. She had been extremely careful about how much of their private lives was shared with the world, especially regarding their oldest daughter, Northwest. But Kanye ignored those boundaries completely, and in doing so, shattered their fragile co-parenting arrangement. At first, it seemed like just another random Kanye project, one of many controversial creative ideas he had thrown out in recent years. But this time, it wasn't just about his music or his brand. This time, he dragged their daughter North into it, without Kim's permission. Kanye had been working on a new album, and he wanted North to be a part of it. Kim was completely against it. She felt that North, who was only 11 years old, was far too young to be put in such a public and permanent position. Kim had worked hard to protect their children's privacy, trying to shield them from the negative effects of growing up in the spotlight. She knew all too well how quickly the internet could turn against someone, and she feared that by featuring North on a track, Kanye was setting her up for a level of exposure she wasn't ready for. So she did what the custody agreement required. She activated the mediation clause. She scheduled a private legal meeting between herself, Kanye, and their attorneys. During this meeting, Kim made it clear that she did not want North involved in the project. Kanye, after pushing back at first, reluctantly agreed to keep North out of the song. The issue seemed settled, at least for a moment, but just one day later, Kanye went back on his word. He released the song anyway, featuring North's voice, and posted it on social media with a caption that sent shockwaves through their fanbase. The man makes the final decision. The post was a direct challenge to Kim, not just as a co-parent, but as a legal authority over their children. Kim was furious. She felt completely betrayed, not just as a mother, but as someone who had gone through the proper legal channels to settle the dispute. And what made things even worse? Kanye's defiant message made it abundantly clear that he didn't think he needed to follow the rules. This wasn't just about one song anymore. To Kim, this was proof that Kanye believed he could do whatever he wanted, regardless of their legal agreement. And if he was willing to ignore a mediated custody decision this easily, what else would he disregard in the future? For Kim, this was the moment she realized their custody arrangement was no longer working. This wasn't just a disagreement, it was a serious legal issue that needed to be dealt with immediately. And now, Kim had only one option left: to fight for full control over their children's future. She wasn't just considering legal action anymore, she was preparing for battle. And this time, Kanye wouldn't be able to ignore the consequences. Kim wasted no time. She immediately reached out to her legal team, and according to insiders, she is now seriously considering filing for sole legal custody. If she moves forward with this, it would mean that while Kanye may still have visitation rights, he would no longer have any say in major decisions involving their children. No control over their education, no input on their healthcare, no authority to approve or reject their involvement in public projects. For Kanye, this would be a devastating loss. He has always been vocal about his desire to be involved in his children's lives, despite his erratic behavior. Losing legal custody wouldn't just affect his ability to parent. It would strip away his power and control in a way that he had never experienced before. But from Kim's perspective, this isn't about punishing Kanye. It's about protecting her children from an environment that is becoming increasingly unstable. She has been the one handling their daily responsibilities, ensuring they have structure and consistency, while Kanye's unpredictable actions continue to create uncertainty and chaos. And legal experts say Kim has a strong case. The court system tends to favor stability, and Kim has proven herself to be the more reliable and present parent. While Kanye has been focused on his business ventures, music, and online feuds, Kim has ensured that their children's lives remain as normal as possible. But when Kanye caught wind of Kim's legal discussions, he erupted. He went on a furious social media tirade, accusing Kim and her family of being the Kardashian mob and claiming they were stealing his children from him. He didn't hold back, calling out not just Kim but also Kris Jenner, who he has long accused of being the mastermind behind the Kardashian empire. Then, he took things a step further. He compared his time with his kids to a jail visitation schedule. This comment immediately divided fans. Some of Kanye's supporters believed he had a point, that Kim was using her influence and power to slowly push him out of his children's lives. They argued that Kanye had always been outspoken and rebellious, and that Kim was simply using the legal system to control the narrative. But others pointed out that Kanye had no one to blame but himself. They argued that this wasn't about Kim blocking him from his children, but rather about Kanye repeatedly breaking their agreements and refusing to follow even the simplest rules of co-parenting. The song incident was just one of many examples where Kanye had chosen to act on impulse instead of respecting boundaries. But just when things seemed like they couldn't get worse, Kanye did something that even his most loyal fans struggled to defend. Out of nowhere, he dragged Beyoncé and Jay-Z's children into the mess. In a completely unrelated rant, Kanye questioned the mental capacity of Beyoncé and Jay-Z's twins, Rumi and Sir Carter. This left the internet completely stunned. Many fans were confused. Why was Kanye attacking the children of a couple who had nothing to do with his custody battle? Others speculated that Kanye was lashing out because Beyoncé and Jay-Z had distanced themselves from him in recent years. Regardless of the reason, the damage was done. Even Kanye's most devoted fans found it difficult to justify his comments. For Kim, this was yet another sign that Kanye was spiraling out of control. It wasn't just about their children anymore. Kanye was now publicly attacking other families, seemingly out of nowhere. And as shocking as that moment was, it still wasn't the worst thing Kanye did. Because next, he made an accusation so reckless and dangerous that even some of his closest allies began to distance themselves. Kanye's next move wasn't just shocking, it was downright reckless. In one of his most unhinged statements yet, he publicly accused Kim and her family of sex trafficking their black children. The claim was outrageous, baseless, and dangerous. Why did he say this? It all started when Kim allowed North to appear in a video with the singer FKA Twigs. The video itself was harmless, just an artistic project that featured North in a stylized creative setting. But Kanye saw it as something far worse. He twisted the situation into a wild conspiracy theory, suggesting that Kim was exploiting North and that this was part of a larger scheme involving her family. The backlash was instant. People across the internet immediately called out the absurdity and recklessness of his words. Even those who had supported Kanye through his past controversies were taken aback. Critics pointed out that Kanye himself had involved their children in his projects without Kim's permission, yet now he was accusing her of something far more serious for allowing North to appear in a music video. The hypocrisy was glaring, and his accusations had zero evidence to support them. Even more concerning, this wasn't just a social media rant, but it had real-world consequences. For Kim, this was the final straw. She saw this as not just an attack on her character, but a dangerous escalation that could put their children at risk. False allegations like this could have serious repercussions, especially given the level of public scrutiny they were already under. And Kim wasn't the only one who felt this way. People in Kanye's own circle reportedly urged him to back down, warning that he was crossing a line that could ruin him legally and professionally. But Kanye didn't stop. Instead, he doubled down, continuing to push his theory online and fueling even more outrage. As the controversy spread, it became clearer than ever that Kanye's erratic behavior wasn't just hurting himself. It was creating an unstable environment for their children. For Kim, this was proof that he could no longer be trusted to make rational decisions regarding their kids. And that's when Kanye made one final move that would only strengthen Kim's case against him even further. While the internet was still reeling from Kanye's outrageous accusations, he made another move, this time involving their 9-year-old son, Saint West. Without consulting Kim, Kanye secretly filmed and released a 45-minute short film titled Bully, starring Saint. The film was heavily stylized and experimental, but the problem wasn't its content. It was the fact that Kim had no idea it was happening. Fans immediately started asking, is Kanye using his kids as part of his brand? This wasn't the first time he had made decisions about their children without Kim's approval, but this one hit differently. North's song feature had already been a major violation of their custody agreement, and now Kanye was involving another child in a public project without permission. For Kim, this was yet another example of why she needed full control over their children's legal decisions. The idea of sole legal custody wasn't just a reaction anymore. It was becoming a necessity, and legal experts were starting to agree. Many pointed out that the court system prioritizes stability, and right now, Kanye wasn't providing that. From ignoring legal agreements to publicly attacking people who had nothing to do with the case, he was showing the exact type of erratic behavior that judges frown upon in custody battles. Meanwhile, insiders confirmed that Kim was taking legal steps to move forward with a case against Kanye, one that could permanently strip him of his legal custody rights. If she succeeds, Kanye will no longer have a say in where their children go to school, what medical decisions are made, or whether they participate in any public projects. He will still have visitation rights, but his authority as a parent will be legally removed. For Kanye, this would be the biggest loss of control in his entire career. And if there's one thing Kanye West has never handled well, it's losing control. As of now, no legal papers have been filed, but insiders say Kim is gearing up for battle. Meanwhile, Kanye is rumored to be consulting lawyers of his own, possibly preparing to file his own legal claim, arguing that Kim has been unfairly restricting his access to the children. While there's no official confirmation of this yet, it's clear that he won't go down without a fight. But the reality is, Kanye may have already lost. His own actions have built the case against him, and if this goes to trial, his public behavior will be impossible to ignore. Legal experts believe that unless Kanye dramatically changes his approach, Kim will win sole custody, and if that happens, Kanye's worst fear will become a reality. He will lose all control over his children's future. One thing is clear, this battle is far from over. Kim is making moves behind the scenes, and if she follows through, Kanye could face the biggest legal fight of his life. But will he let that happen without pushing back? Or will this turn into one of the most explosive courtroom battles Hollywood has ever seen? Only time will tell. What do you think? Is Kim justified in taking full control? Or is Kanye being unfairly pushed out of his children's lives? Let us know in the comments. And if you want to stay updated on this unfolding drama, make sure to subscribe because this story is only getting started.